All right, so remember to tell your friends who aren't in this room this information. I will send out an email, but if you want to do an internship for credit, not just I feel like winging off an internship, for credit this summer, and you were not in my spring class, you absolutely have to register for the fall class and also tell me now. If you come back in August and say, guess what I did? It was so cool. How do I get credit? Go to Tulane, because you're not getting credit from Loyola. Okay? Tulane burn. So I will email that out. So if you see like career at Loyola, blah, 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 that's me telling you this same thing. But if you want credit, I will not give it to a new face in August. You have to tell me now and log it in now, okay? Let me know if you have questions. Thank you.
All right, so what's the moral of the story? When do you have to tell Kate? One more time, when? Great, okay, good. I love the signal. I love how I announce for student announcements and no one comes up, so I start the faculty announcements and then all the students show up. So, here we go. You are. We just want to be like you, Kate.
So, going off of what Kate just said, if you are looking for a summer internship, there's a really great internship at Live Nation, and there's a great internship opportunity this summer with Live Nation and the Voodoo Experience. So if you do set it up with Kate to earn credit, come see me, and I'll set it up so that you can intern with us when we release the lineup and the schedule over the summer. And it'll be a lot of fun. It's on Loyola.
Hey, what's up, y'all? I just wanted to let you know that I have a show this Wednesday night at the Willow. I'll be playing a beat set along with a few talented rappers. We got Stefan Henry, J.O. Ayo, and Luke Banter. So doors open at 9, show will be kicking off at 10, and $5 gets you in for the night. All right, thank you, guys.
There we go. Okay, so I also have a few announcements before we get started with the interview. Chris in the office said he got a call from admissions that they have 30 free tickets for an event tomorrow at the House of Blues. Of course, he didn't know who was playing or what exactly the event was. But if you would like to go to this mystery event at the House of Blues tomorrow, go by the admissions office and say, hey, I want one of those 30 free tickets. Also, John Snyder asked me to announce a few things before we get started in relation to registration, which started today, and some plans for next fall. First off, he wanted to announce that we will have 3 new full-time faculty members next fall. They're all people that you sort of already know, which is cool. We've broken them in a bit already. The new full-time position in popular and commercial music will be filled by the one and only Kate Duncan. And we also are adding, I guess, replacing Elliot's position, a full-time music industry position that Lo Faber will be filling. So Lo's not here, but clap for him anyway. And then with the addition of the digital filmmaking major, John Vogel is moving to full-time as well. So we have 3 great new colleagues that we can have lots of fun with, so that'll be very cool. A couple of notes on registration. You know, you can do summer classes. There are some online summer classes. If you need to fill some common curriculum, that's possible. John also wanted me to announce that there's an online version of Legal Issues 1 this summer. So if you need to take the music industry legal issues class, you can do that online this summer. There's networking this summer as well. Yes, it's listed. So they killed it. Oh, it was a trip. It didn't happen. Okay. Well, it's still in Laura. Okay. So there's no networking. Also, 2 on-campus courses this summer, actually 3, taught by David Rodriguez. There's Writing About Radiohead, The Art of Storytelling, and Issues in Video Game Music that John assured me will count for something, I think, in that MUIN 420 slot. So if you would like to take those. And then for the fall, the contemporary issues courses are record label operations, venue management and talent buying, craft and business of songwriting with McCormick, which we have all the time, and a music publishing course. And then the tech electives are the regular live sound and studio tech that Jay usually teaches. Scott Billington and I will be doing production of recorded music again. And then also there's the urban music production course that UP taught last fall, will happen again next fall. And that got great reviews from the people who took it. So check those out. Now we're going to move on to the exciting part of our afternoon. Music publishing can seem like a bit of a mystery to us at times. And fortunately, we've got someone here to help us understand it. She's the owner of her own business, Della Music Publishing, and we'll talk about all the various things she does as we get into the interview. Please welcome Deborah Evans. I'm going to start with the top of the list I got here. It says you got a bachelor's degree in English and a master's degree in harpsichord.
Yes.
How does that turn into I run a music publishing business?
Well, I went from not knowing what a copyright was because I played classical music all the time to really understanding copyright law and knowing what that's all about. So yeah, as a harpsichord player, you're only playing Baroque music. And that's what I did for my master's degree.
I hadn't thought about that. At harpsichord, your entire repertoire is public domain.
It's all public domain,
yeah. Wow, okay. Well, so what was the thing that caused you to explore working in publishing?
I was an English major at Dickinson College in Pennsylvania, a small school like this school, liberal arts school, very good school. And I had a minor in music, and I've always been good at communicating and words. And so I thought after I did my master's degree, I was going to go right into performance on the harpsichord. And does everybody know what the harpsichord is? It's a Baroque instrument. Strings are plucked. It's like the piano, but earlier. Bach is the harpsichord. So. And then I got into rap music. And somehow I ended up working for Cash Money Records.
And this wasn't just like laying harpsichord tracks on.
No, there was a progression. I was teaching piano. I got everybody by saying I worked for Cash Money Records. I didn't work. I had taught after graduate school. I taught piano for about 5 or 6 years, and I really enjoyed teaching, and I was very good at teaching. And I was performing, but I just didn't. I don't think I had to be a performer. You really have to have about 100% talent and 100% drive. It's really, and you have to want to only perform in classical music. And I had too many other interests. So, and I also needed health insurance. And I couldn't pay my bills.
It's amazing what people will do for health insurance. Yeah.
So I found myself at the doorstep of a publisher in New York, a small publisher called Born Music Company. And that was in 1998. And they have a lot of old standards. Here's That Rainy Day, Polka Dots and Moonbeams, When You Wish Upon a Star. So I asked for a job and got one amazingly at $22,000 a year in New York, but it worked. It was fine with me.
So what were your responsibilities on that first job?
I just learned everything there. I was kind of doing a bit of licensing, mechanical licensing, sync licensing, a lot of phones, taking the phones. But mostly, I really learned about copyright law, and I started to understand copyright law. these were older songs, pre-1978, so most of them they're under term, you know. And a lot of them have complex rights, like reversionary territories. Canada and the UK are divided up and one, and then the rest of the world. And so different publishers have different rights in different territories. So it was really complex. I kind of started right in with the pre-1978 copyrights and learned about terminations. That's when the writers get their songs back after 56 years. And then just the older songs and the terms.
So you mentioned you were doing some mechanical licensing, some sync licensing. All the mechanicals I've had to get, I've always just gone through Harry Fox.
Yeah. I work there too.
I mean, are there individual publishers who handle that themselves, or does pretty much everybody farm that out?
No, you know, what's happened with Harry Fox is at one point the Harry Fox Agency is the premier mechanical licensing agency.
Just to be clear, is that distinction clear? Should we talk about mechanical? We have a fairly knowledgeable audience,
you guys probably know the difference between mechanical and sync. So mechanical is just audio, and synchronization is audio synchronized to video, to images. So Harry Fox was handling mechanical licensing and some sync licensing for publishers, and they were handling the major publishers, EMI and Sony, which were separate. Sony ATV, they were separate at that time. Now they're together. Warner Chappell and Universal were all going through the Harry Fox Agency, but when I was there, so these are the major publishers. So Harry Fox had about 90% of the publishers, and the other ones did it directly or couldn't be found, or chopyright control. Right. And what happened in about 2000 with Napster, to kind of change, things changed with digital music. And Harry Fox has somewhat kept up with blanket licensing for digital companies. They removed the sync department because the sync department that went back to the publishers. It was easier for the publishers to do their own. And a couple of the major publishers now do the mechanical licensing directly, so Harry Fox doesn't take a cut. But after I had about a year and a half experience at Bourne Company, which was great because I just learned everything. I kind of just absorbed things. Nobody really monitored my work. I just did it and just learned about copyright law. And then I went to work for the Harry Fox Agency, and then I really dug into the licensing aspect.
How long were you at Harry Fox?
4 years.
And you went from there to your own business that you're running now?
No, after that, let's see, I was in the synchronization department at Harry Fox, and then the mechanical licensing, and then a wonderful opportunity came up with an independent publisher, and I've always been inclined toward the small guys, and I'm a member of some organizations, mostly based in New York. This is in New York, so a lot of opportunities there. Association of Independent Music Publishers, AIMP, so that's smaller publishers. And one was Helene Blue Music, and Helene had the Charles Strauss catalog, which is Annie and Bye Bye Birdie. So somehow I got into Broadway, you know. So I mean, high school it was Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd, and then college was Baroque music, and then it changes, and then all of a sudden I was the director of copyright and licensing for this small publisher in New York, and there were about 3 of us in the office, and I was the director of copyright and licensing, so I handled everything. I handled royalties too. So
in that case, doing those shows, you're mainly dealing with licensing, like high school productions of Annie and that sort of thing?
No, that would be MTI, and what we did, for Strauss, we handled the mechanical licensing and synchronization licensing for films and commercials and anything live stage, but not the grand rights.
Okay.
The shows are actually handled by MTI Music Theater International and what's the other one? I forget. There are two companies that handle
Right.
the rights for the shows
But
themselves.
if-
So I didn't handle that.
Right,
But we handled
if
secondary
Tide
rights.
wanted to use The Sun Will Come Out Tomorrow in a commercial, that went through you.
Yeah, in fact,
Yeah.
I used my best commercial was the Sun Will Come Out Tomorrow, and it was for Super Bowl 2005, I think. And it was for the NFL, and I thought that was pretty cool. Now I do a lot of commercials, but at that time that was pretty interesting.
So let's move on to what you're doing now. You have a music publishing company. What's your daily routine like? How many artists do you have? How are you representing them? What's the general description of your current business?
I think because I couldn't get channeled completely into publishing, I do a bit of lots of different parts of the business. So I do record label work, and I do clearance work and publishing. I'm primarily a publisher. I ended up working at a company in Brooklyn called Stray Dog Music, and they hired me to develop their publishing company. And so I really got into publishing, and then from there I started my own company in 2007. And then moved down here in 2010. But the publishing, I ended up just taking on some catalogs that weren't really making a lot of money, but I wanted to handle them. So I had a lounge music catalog from Germany. I was I sub-published for foreign catalogs too. So it was lounge music and jazz, but it was not doing that well here, so I actually dropped it. Just through connections, I had a reggae catalog, which I really liked. But the reggae was hard to signing one contract and another contract.
Yeah, so that's next
And
week's
so
show.
I would look at the contracts and go, Paul Blake, oh, you signed two different things, and Mighty Diamonds, and that was very hard. So the claims issues were difficult with that. So I had that catalog for a while. It was just through connections, and then another Broadway composer. And then I ended up partnering with a company called DMG Clearances. Deborah Evans is my business partner. She is based in Delaware, and she has handled sample clearances for rap and hip hop since about 1999, I think. So that's early for
Yeah.
sample clearances when people started.
I was going to say, that's probably as long as they've been actually clearing the
Right.
samples.
Right, right, when they figured out they had to do it. So she knows the stuff inside and out, and some of her clients are, she's got Def Jam, Cash Money Records. She does the major labels. She does sample clearances. So when a sample of something is used in a song, and so I end up doing some of those clearances too.
Well, so let's walk through the process of a clearance. Let's say I'm making a hip hop record and I have a sample that I want to use, and I come to you and I say, can you help me clear this sample? What happens next?
Well, I tell you how much you have to pay me.
And does that include how much I have to pay
No.
the
no.
owner? Right.
No, well, we set up our fees first, and then we determine whether it's an interpolation or a sample. So a sample is going to include the master recording, which means we have to go to the labels to get their permission. So if it's an actual sample,
Right.
we go to the label. And then we also have to go to the publisher with our request to get clearance from the publisher. And we negotiate a fee. Master clearance fees depends on what the song is. I mean, if it's a huge song, it could be $5,000, $10,000, and then, depends on the artist too, that they're doing it for. And then the publishing fee ends up being a portion of the copyright. So the publisher will listen to the recording and say, is the music bed throughout? I mean, are they using it as a hook? I had something that come to me as a publisher. I represent Faith Evans, who is Biggie's widow. Mm-hmm. She's a great R&B singer now. She does a lot of pretty neat things, but she gets sampled a lot, and so I represent her as a songwriter. Soon as I Get Home is one of her great songs from early 2000, I think. And I got a request for that the other day. And so on the publisher side, I had to listen and determine how much is the guy using in the new song. And I said 60%. And I want an advance on 20,000 units. So that's going to be, the advance on 20,000 units will be 9.1 cents. Right, times 20,000, times my 60%. So negotiation happens. The publishers lock in the deal with or without an advance, and then the label locks in the deal. And hopefully it happens before the record comes out.
Right. So what happens if you reach an impasse? If there's not an agreement? Like if the publisher just won't agree to something reasonable.
Oh, the label will move on. They will probably move on unless the artist really wants the sample. But chances are somebody's going to hear it. I've cleared some Nicki Minaj things, and there's been some infringements that they didn't necessarily know about. It was some dance hall music that she had used in a song, and they thought it was public domain because it was, I guess, Jamaican, or Barbados.
Right.
Dance hall music. But it wasn't. Somebody actually owned the copyright. So sometimes there's a lawsuit. Nicki used it and released it. So once it's released, you have to pay for it in some way.
Right.
So you have to clear the samples.
Or there's the sort of going copyright side, the Tom Petty high road way of we'll just sort it out and you'll give me my cut and everybody's happy.
Yeah. I always, to any of my artists who are also songwriters, I just say get those splits on those songs right up front. Have that in writing. Have a split sheet that says, so-and-so writer has 10%, 2.5%, work that out before the release comes out, because I've tried to represent songwriters who come back and say, I'd like my retroactive royalties from a Def Jam release from 2007 or something, and it's just so hard to go back and renegotiate. You almost can't do it.
Right. Well, and at that point, you just have to be able to afford the lawyers.
You have to be able to afford the lawyers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how many clients do you have in your publishing company? I guess my question is, as a small publishing house, essentially how many people do you have time to represent?
About 6 or 7. I keep it pretty small so I can handle it. It's mostly me in my office, and then my director of royalties, who happens to be my husband, and and I have various Loyola interns coming and going, which is fabulous. And they can attest to the fact that it's a good internship, and they learn a lot about a lot of things, because it's some record label work, it's publishing work, and clearance work. So I have about 5 or 6 clients. I have Reggie Noble, Redman, Eric Sermon from EPMD, and and Faith Evans I have, and the rap stuff I kind of got through hooking up with Deborah Gardner, because she was doing all the sample clearances. Right. And she asked me to handle some publishing for Reggie Noble. So I took on his catalogs.
So are you doing sort of the Nashville style of publishing where you're taking your client's songs and trying to get other people to record them?
No, I'm not. I'm actually not very good at pitching. Pitching music is, it takes a lot of time, and usually small publishers will hire someone to do their pitching and their A&R if they can afford it. I don't have anyone, so sometimes I job that out. If I find if a songwriter comes to me, one of my writers, and is pitching, I will go to a song plugger in Nashville and ask them to do it. And my writer's okay with their commission plus my commission. I may drop my commission to get that song on a record.
Sure.
But I am mostly administration. I'm just better at it. I'm not, pitching songs is like, I don't know, it's more like salesman. Yeah. And I'm just not, it's hard. I mean, I have the connections with film, and I send out CDs when I've got some really great music, but I don't do it continually, so.
So how do you decide who to represent?
At this point, well, when I first started as a publisher, I took on the reggae catalog and the lounge music. And I have to look at the numbers. I have to see whether it's a good business decision. I have to ask them for their past 3 years of publishing royalties. So I need to see how much money they're bringing in on publishing. Because my commission, publishing commission in general, is about 15%. So it's got to be worth my time. And it can be, there's a lot of detail. There's registering songs with BMI and ASCAP, all the licensing, working out copyright issues. Sometimes the songwriters want you to register their songs with the Copyright Office, and it takes a lot of time. So the most important thing is how much money are they making,
yeah.
and do they have a major label release? I need a major label release. Otherwise, I will kind of give my time gratis to a songwriter. I mean, I help out a lot of songwriters, right. Just guiding them to register with BMI and ASCAP, just telling them the process. If you're newer, you know, if you don't have a major label or you're not earning that income yet, make a video and put it on YouTube and just get your music out for free.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I need to have a major label release.
So what are some streams of publishing income that we might not be aware of? I mean, maybe start with the ones that we should all be aware of. Like, how many different places can we get our publishing income?
Oh, many. Pretty much everything except, let's see. Well, there's mechanical licensing from CDs and digital sales, streaming, you know, Spotify, Pandora, all of those, and that's actually become more important, is the streaming income. We're not very well represented as far as money. We've been kind of reacting to technology, publishers have, and that's why publishing is kind of, people might think it's kind of the boring side of of the music business. But publishers that are doing well are very proactive in knowing what's going on in technology. So that, I mean, that's why I like to have you guys come to my office, because I think Adam did something on CD Baby for me, and I didn't know what to do. He put something up for me, but you guys know a lot more about technology than I do, and so I get to learn from that, because staying on top of technology is most important.
In terms of the sync stuff that you do, do people come to you looking for music? Do you take music and look for clients to sync it? How does that relationship happen?
Because my songs are registered with ASCAP and BMI, I'm locatable. So when sync uses happen, for TV and film. They just come to me, and I don't go looking for it. So a lot of stuff happens. MTV uses a lot, just a lot of different things. So You Think You Can Dance, bumpers for Jimmy Fallon. They use a lot of Redman for that. I have had a couple film uses, which I love doing the film uses. They usually come to me. If I get an active songwriter who's plugging a song, and I'll send it to a film if I know what the music supervisor is working on. So it's a little bit of both, yeah. And then I do the licensing, the legal part of it.
One of these questions here talks about your investment in an artist. How much of it can you do versus how much does the artist have to do? Like, obviously, on all of these industry teams, there's shared amounts of responsibility. Can I, as an artist, find a publisher and say, okay, well, cool, she's going to deal with it now. I don't have to do anything.
I have a mixture of both. I have a couple of writers who are just not even reachable, and I can't sort out their copyright problems. And that's difficult because there's money sitting out there for them, and they don't have the splits. These are early hip hop songs, and it's just stuff that doesn't have splits. So that's difficult. So they don't ask me to do anything. I just have to pull teeth to get the information from them. And then on the opposite end, I do have one or two writers who really want me to handle everything. And it just depends. I only work with honest people and writers that I like and trust and am interested in working with. I had a situation with a writer who just was not. He was penning a deal with Sony ATV, and I said, talk to me about this, a larger deal. Because since I'm a smaller publisher, a lot of writers think of me as sort of a stepping stone, maybe to a larger deal. I don't offer a $50,000 advance to the writers. I just do administration. This guy was getting big, and he got on a Drake song. What's the one? I forget. Anyway, he didn't tell me about it. And I said, if you just talk to me about it, we can negotiate, and I'll collect the first part, and I'll hand it over to Sony ATV. That's fine. So, yeah. But I don't take writers like that.
Have you ever had to just drop somebody?
Yeah, I dropped him. Yeah, and people have come to me saying, where is this guy? And I said, I don't know. Because he wasn't upfront with me. I said, we could have worked out a deal. And on the other hand, I have another writer who he writes with some Pitbull songs. He writes with Pitbull, and he performs with Pitbull. And I do a great deal for him, and I really like working for him. He's very creative. He's a keyboardist, and he's just in the waiting for a larger deal. I think somebody did approach him. He said, I'm going to stick with Deb because she texts me when this is what a smaller publisher can do, is keep the interaction with the writers. A larger publisher isn't going to know your name. Right. You may get a huge advance, but you're never going to be able to talk to somebody at that company that really.
Yeah, that you feel.
That's why I support the smaller publishers.
So what can you as a publisher offer that, say, just a sync agent can't? Or is it kind of should we look at it as the same thing from the artist side?
A sync agent, you mean somebody pitching songs?
Yeah, just somebody pitching, pitching your stuff for sync as opposed to a full-on publisher.
Yeah, they don't really they might handle the licensing, but once they pitch your song and it gets used, they might handle the licensing, but you still have the publishing. If that song is released worldwide, you need worldwide representation. So that's the main thing that I can offer is worldwide. I have about 8 or 9 publishers around the world that represent my catalog. and I get income there, so which I wouldn't have. In fact, Faith Evans had it was a release in Japan, and I forget which song it was, but all of a sudden I got a check for about $6,000 for her because I had Fuji Pacific representing me in Japan.
And so is that mostly just that these publishers have relationships with the PROs there, so it gets tracked down properly?
Yeah. Yeah, they're usually, outside of the US, the PROs are much more involved in all the different types of licensing. They collect mechanicals, sync, and performance, and BMI and ASCAP only collect on performance income. So yeah, the rest of the world publishers are pretty involved with the PROs, but yeah, so I offer worldwide collection, administration, royalties, quarterly royalties. It's basically collection, and then also handling any of the licensing that needs to be done, so that's illegal.
Right. How different are the PRO systems in terms of what the payment is in various countries?
Oh, Canada is similar. They divide up by, I think they take percentages. It's hard to even know how ASCAP and BMI rate songs and pay on songs. They won't really tell you. They're fairly comparable.
Okay. I know just my experience of having a couple of songs that I have, 1/6 of the composer credit on, because they were essentially improvised jazz things, got some airplay in Switzerland, and it paid way better than anything. I get these checks, and it's like, oh, wow, I like this Swiss thing. It's worth cashing the check.
Was it streaming or?
No, it was radio broadcast.
Radio broadcast? Yeah, that
One
Switzerland
of them
would be
it was initially
Suiza.
a radio broadcast of a live performance, but then it was rebroadcast.
Well, some countries really have it together. I mean, Suiza is SUISA is the Swiss Society. It's Switzerland, so of course they're going to be on top of collecting royalties. Germany is excellent. France, not so much. It depends by country. So, I mean, it would take. When I get the royalty statements in, I would really have to go over them with a fine-tooth comb to see are they collecting properly, and so I don't always have time to do that to see where the income is from.
Yep.
I could match it up to what are the rates in your countries for this.
So do you have a favorite international market? Do you have a?
Actually. Yeah, I've ended up with South America likes my Pitbull song, so because he's toured all over South America, and so Planet Pit. I have a couple songs on Planet Pit. My writer had toured with Pitbull, and so I have pretty strong income from South America and Mexico from those albums. The Red Man does very well in Japan, big in Japan, and Australia. UK is always good, yeah.
Yeah. So some of these songs that have multiple composers, for example, your guy who writes with Pitbull, there might be, I'm guessing, 3 or 4 composers on a tune, and are there 3 or 4 separate publishers as well?
Usually.
And does that ever create any fun drama?
Well, let me tell you about Cash Money. I did want to talk about this job because it's a very interesting part of the business. What I do for Cash Money is the mechanical licensing for the label. And so I'm in between. I'm not a publisher there. I'm not a clearance person. I'm just handling the mechanical licensing so that the publishers get paid and don't sue Cash Money. Nobody sues Cash Money, right? So anyway, the mechanical licensing just involves working out all the splits of all the songs, which can be a nightmare because there's samples. One Drake song, Pound Cake, I think has 3 samples in it. Off his Nothing Was the Same, off his last album. Three different songs and each sample had different writers. And then you add in Drake and whatever producer. And so that song had 21 writers, which could mean 21 different publishers. It probably ended up with about 10 different publishers. So, but I had to confirm all the splits with each publisher.
Right, because it's not like divide by 21.
Oh, no.
No, it's like this
No,
sample
producer
has
is-
6 publishers and the sample's 6% of the whole thing, and so that
Yeah.
6% yeah.
The sample has to be cleared first, and they take what they want. They take 60%. That's theirs. They get straight statutory mechanicals, no reduced rate. That's it. That's the deal. The rest of the 40% gets divided up. Producer 50%, artist 50%, but then all of their people helping them under that. So.
Sounds fun.
Oh yeah. Especially the lawsuits.
Well, and I'll give you the heads up, start thinking of your questions, because we're getting to that point. So when the lawsuits come up, do you get called? Do you have to go deal with that? Or?
Sometimes, yeah, I've been an expert witness. Yeah.
About things that you represent, or just
Other things.
About other
yeah,
things?
in the clearance world. Yeah.
So what advice would you have for our aspiring music publishers?
Publishing is not boring. I love the publishing area because if you're good at organizing information, you have to really like administration, though. But that doesn't mean it has to be a really boring type of work. You could be very good at royalties and numbers and go work for a publisher. You could be really good at A&R. Because you can be on the creative side and be an A&R for a publisher. So there are a lot of aspects to publishing, different areas of publishing, too. So advice would be learn the copyright law. You have to know it.
So what advice would you have for our aspiring composers who need to find a publisher? What should they look for in a good publisher?
You have to have a well-produced song, you know. But I think you have to want to develop a good relationship with a publisher, and that publisher can help you do a lot of different things. So just tell the publisher exactly what you need. Some of my writers just want me to pitch songs, and I'll do that. Some of them write some classical pieces, and I go to their events, or just there's different types of jobs within it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Have we inspired any good questions? Jay, give us a little house lights there. See where that was quick. Where the question people are.
I'm really very introverted. This is interesting.
Thank you very much for being here, Mrs. Evans. I was just curious if you noticed have you noticed any trends as far as what types of artists are being published more, what genres, like where's the money going as far as who's being placed where and what types of situations? If you have any insight as far as any trends happening right now.
Trends. Well, country to pop. Look at Taylor Swift. So, country is huge. So it's just a big market. If you're interested, I'm not particularly interested in country music, so I don't have any country artists. I have to really like the music I represent. But if I really liked country music, I'd probably be in Nashville, or I'd have some close ties with Nashville. And then rap music is hard because you have to see a good progression with the artist and know that they're going to go farther. But rap and hip hop and country, I think, are really kind of where money is. Yeah.
So does your personal taste drive some of your decisions about who to
Oh
represent?
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I have a songwriter who he does some Broadway, but he also writes some classical pieces, and then he's a mixture. And then I have rap music, and then I have actually I'm more on the rap hip hop side. So harpsichord, rap music.
Harpsichord,
I still don't
hip-hop.
know how that
I love
happened.
it. Awesome.
Can you talk about how you got involved with Cash Money right here? Sorry.
Yes, through the clearance company, DMG Clearances. She was handling all the sample clearances for Cash Money Records. And when I hooked up with her, Cash Money, in 2010, Cash Money worked out a P&D deal with Universal Records. Part of that requirement for that deal was that Cash Money does their own licensing, the mechanical licensing. So in June of 2010, Cash Money Records needed someone to do the mechanical licensing. And so my partner recommended me because I had the background. So.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, so you talked a lot about, clearing samples prior to release, but what about, like, I know it happens a lot now with rappers getting indicted for songs that came out, like, 4 years ago on a mixtape, and, like, do people just get sued, or do they go to a publisher and say, we want to work out a publisher split on this, or do they just try and, like, pull the song from everywhere and just, like...
It depends on how much money they have. If they have enough money to afford a lawsuit, they can do that. Usually, it's best to try to settle it just by going to the publisher and saying, just how many units have sold? Pay me 9.1 cents times those 20,000 units, and just work it out without a lawyer. There's also questions on, what is it really a sample? Who owns it? I mean, there's a lot of issues to be worked out beforehand. But to avoid the attorneys in dealing with it is best. Yeah.
I want to follow up on that. So if I use a sample, like an actual sample of the recording, obviously I have to clear that. What if I just recreate, say, a little hook from someone else's record? How does that get cleared? Does that have to get cleared?
Yes.
But
Yeah.
does it clear not with the label, just with the publisher?
Because that's an interpolation. So there's an interpolation which only needs to be cleared with the publisher. And then a sample, really, that has to be cleared with the label and the publisher, because you're actually using the copyrighted recording and the copyrighted song.
So
there's
if
two
it's
copyrights.
any distinctive feature of that composition, like if I take a horn lick or something, that would be an interpolation.
An interpolation, yeah, and
Yeah.
you re-record that.
Yeah.
Or you do that on your own. So we would have to go only to the publisher.
Right, okay.
Hi. If you have a songwriter who gets their song recorded by an artist, how hard or easy is it to monitor how many copies are made and how much publishing income you're owed?
It depends on the label. Most of the major labels I know are going to send me accurate reportings. They're usually a couple quarters behind what. Do you guys know what SoundScan is? Yeah. Larger publishers have access to SoundScan that counts all the records. So that's really the way you can do it if you're a larger publisher. I go back and look on Wikipedia, and I plow through the internet and see how many YouTube views the video's got, and then I judge whether the label's going to be accurate in reporting, and the majors are. They're a little bit behind, but they are.
Anyone else? Anyone? Bueller? I know y'all are getting too young for that joke to work.
Yeah, I got it.
Deborah got it, right. Okay, well, seeing no further questions, I'd like to say thank you.
Thank you.